Cable 7 and 103.7 WTIB present Talk of the Town with Henry Hinton. News, sports, and community information and everything that's going on around town. Now, with Talk of the Town, here's your host, Henry Hinton.
Okay, welcome back. It's Monday, January the 20th, 2014, the year of our Lord. And it's Martin Luther King Day. And we're back here on Monday. Good to be back here this morning in the studio. Nice day outside. Going to be nice today, up to 62 for a high today. And a lot of good things happening in the communities. Philip Horn is here. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, sir.
I believe McGee will be back tomorrow, but Philip's been sitting in the last few days, and it's been fabulous having you here.
It's been fabulous being here.
Speaking of fabulous, Carly, how about that sweater Philip's wearing this morning?
Fabulous.
That is fabulous.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
The pink looks good on you. I mean, for the radio audience, you can't see. Philip is wearing a bright, hot pink sweater.
I'm rocking it.
It's very attractive.
It's like electric raspberry.
Electric raspberry.
It takes a lot of guts to wear something like that.
And I've got a lot of guts.
Carly Swain is here.
Electric raspberry.
How are you this morning?
Good. I'm really happy with that color name. I'm going to brand it.
With your what?
That color name.
What'd you call it?
Electric raspberry.
I like it.
It makes sense, right?
You could sell that to Crayola.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go do that right now.
You should.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. They'll pay you 84 cents for that.
Yes, right.
I said a lot of good
7
things
million
happening in the community. Did you see this? You see the Milken Institute has given Greenville, North Carolina, a very high ranking. The Milken Institute ranks, they have annual rankings, and they measure how well metropolitan areas are creating and sustaining jobs and economic growth. And I'm a little bit surprised to see this. Greenville, North Carolina has moved up to number 13 in the country in terms of best performing small cities in the United States of America.
Named for and endowed by the man who was indicted for selling junk bonds.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah, what's his name? Milken.
Michael Milken.
Michael Milken, who's now in prison, right?
No, he's not in prison.
He died, didn't he?
No, he's not in prison.
Did he die?
He recovered from cancer. He had a bad bout, I think, with lymphoma, but recovered and has invested a lot, by the way, in cancer research.
Well, good for him. So the Milken Institute ranks Greenville 13th in the country. We actually were doing pretty good before. We're up 17 spots from last year, which would have made us what last year? 27th. 26th. No.
Did you say are we 13th?
We're up 17 spots.
Were from 30th.
We've been 30th, yeah. Math was not my specialty. 30th, yes, we were 30th. So they rank the metro areas on steady growth and job creation, wages, and salaries. And high tech. I don't see Greenville as being a very high tech.
I bet the medical district has a lot to do with that.
Well, and the organization that Phil Hodges, what was it, Metrics?
Metrics, yeah.
That's a very high tech pharmaceutical company. And there are some high tech, but I wouldn't think 13th in the country. I mean, do you see Greenville? I mean, you think about Silicon Valley, and I guess those would be the bigger city rankings.
But are we being compared and comparable to similar sized cities? Is that the way?
I think that's the idea. Small cities. I think there's maybe three categories.
So I
Small,
can
medium, large.
see where they would rank us reasonably high in that category among other cities our size.
According to Greenville's Economic Development Officer, Carl Reese, Greenville's upward mobility within the Milken rankings represents a positive trend. I'm reading from a press release from the city of Greenville, by the way. While this ranking is reflective of Greenville's growth over the last few years, the city's business sector continues to flourish, as evidenced by recent locations and business expansion in the life sciences and tech sector. In fact, I didn't think about this, but Philip had a huge hand in bringing the DNA guys to Greenville, and that may have helped in this ranking too.
Could have. But those are the kinds of businesses that I don't think of as high tech per se, but they are in the technology sector, especially life sciences.
And for people who don't know what I'm talking about, what's the name of the company, the DNA company?
It's Genome ID Group, or also CAFTA, the Center for Advanced Forensic DNA.
And Philip recruited them to come to Greenville, and they are doing DNA research that no one else in the entire country is doing, and they located here in Greenville, thanks to Philip, who paid them off with Jersey Mike coupons.
That's right. Yeah.
I like Jersey Mike.
How did you convince them to come here, by the way?
I said best barbecue in the South is here, and he said, "All right, we're here."
Did you show them the town common?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now,
believe it or not.
Why did they want to come to?
One of the decisive factors, believe it or not, among other great selling points for this community and for Eastern North Carolina, the chief science officer is a huge outdoorsman, and he loved having access to fishing and hunting and those kinds of things.
I've heard that there have been some local folks who have taken him duck hunting a few times.
That's true.
Including our golfing buddy Scott Shook, and he hasn't left the community yet.
And I didn't even realize that's code for lots of drinking.
Glad you said that. Not me. I didn't say it. Yeah, duck hunting carries with it some connotation, but not everybody who duck hunts does that. Let me make that clear. Just
there are some
just Shook.
There are some legitimate duck hunters who do it for sport.
They do. I think they get out there out there in Mattamuskeet Lake, and I don't know what goes on out there. But
I think tall tales and tall beverages.
I've just always wondered if there was more to duck hunting because you have to go at 3:30 in the morning, and it has to be 20 degrees. And I'm thinking, who would do that to themselves and call that recreation?
Sounds like torture.
Takes a rare breed.
Yes, it does.
It's torture.
Yeah. So anyway, congratulations to Greenville, now number 13 in the country in best performing small cities in America in the Milken Institute rankings. That was announced on Friday. Good for them. There were some interesting things. Shook just texted me and went, "A real man." That's who. Interesting things I'm always interested in the weekend edition of the News and Instigator, because there's always some interesting stuff in here, particularly the editorial section. And yesterday morning, Edenton, North Carolina, was the subject of a column written by Lou Powell. And I guess he's a writer for the News Observer, because he talks about he talks about Claude Sitten, who was the editor of the News Observer during the Little Rascals daycare trial.
Right.
And in this, if you're, I think most people in Eastern North Carolina, a lot of people have moved in since this all took place. But when did the Little Rascals thing take place? In the early 90s?
Had to be,
I believe.
Had to have been
early
the early
90s?
90s, yeah.
For those of you who do not know what the Little Rascals daycare scandal in Edenton, North Carolina was, and according to Lou Powell still is, it was a daycare center in Edenton called the Little Rascals Center, and in it, the owners of the daycare center, Robert and Betsy Kelly, and I believe 5 of their employees, including the cook and some other employees that worked at the daycare center, were indicted and convicted of child abuse and sexual misconduct and sexual child abuse with children as young as 3 and 4 years old at this daycare center right here in Eastern North Carolina in Edenton. And it was the subject of a huge PBS television special, investigative report. I believe there were three different episodes of it, I believe.
I think that's right.
And it basically the Frontline PBS bit basically shot a lot of holes in the case and made a lot of people believe that this never happened. And now I have to tell you that I'm from Chowan County, and I can tell you that the nerves on this are very frayed even today. Here's some 20 years later. And is it 20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years later. And it divided the small eastern North Carolina town of Edenton. People who'd been friends their whole lives. Some people did not believe that it was true. And then there were a lot of very high-profile parents in Edenton who testified in the trial that they truly believed that their children had been sexually molested, and believe so to this day. Now, this column, the kids today would be in their 20s.
Mm-hmm. Or almost 30.
Betsy and Robert Kelly went to prison. Robert Kelly, I believe, spent 5 years in prison. I believe Betsy Kelly spent a couple of years in prison. And now let me tell you that having grown up in Chowan County, that Betsy Kelly was she was a member of the Twitty family in Edenton. It was a prominent family. Her dad owned a real estate company, nice folks. And so, you know, there were just so many people in Edenton that just never believed that this really happened. And then, again, I'm not going to give my opinion on this, but there have been many cases during that time and since that time. There was the famous McMartin case in California. There was a big case in Massachusetts in Fells Acres. And there were a lot of people that now believe that the children had been led to believe these things, that these charges came from inexperienced psychologists who were suggesting things through the way they interview, you know, the power of suggestion through the way they interviewed the children. And there were a lot of crazy stories that came out of the deal. You might remember that they said that Petey the Pirate was there, and that they took him out on a boat, and there was a child hanging upside down from a tree and all this stuff. It was a lot of fantastic stuff. But when they went to court, the charges stuck. And these people were convicted and went to prison. Well, now Lou Powell, the editorial columnist for the News Observer, has written an editorial over the weekend calling on Roy Cooper, the Attorney General, to reopen this case and exonerate these people who were convicted. And he interviews Claude Sitton of the News Observer, who was the editor of the News Observer. And I'm just going to read that part of the interview. In 2007, Attorney General Roy Cooper granted the defendants in the Duke lacrosse case a statement of innocence. In 2012, Governor Bev Perdue pardoned the Wilmington 10. But the Edenton 7 have never received exoneration from the state of North Carolina. Claude Sitton was editor of the News Observer from 1970 to 1990. When I look back, he told an oral history interviewer in 2007, my greatest mistake was my failure to make sure we had a top-notch investigative reporter on the Little Rascals case. I think had we sent someone like Pat Stith down there, that would have been it. And if you don't know, Pat Stith was the reporter that pretty much blew open the Mike Easley stuff. Pat Stith, you know, one of the big investigative reporters in the country, really. And he says he did, you know, he wishes there'd been he had sent somebody down there like that. Instead, he sent an inexperienced reporter. And so I think what he's saying is, you know, the News Observer might have been able to keep these people out of prison. That prosecutor had gone wild, eaten up by ambition, I suppose, to hang these people. Again, this is Claude Sitton's comments from the News Observer. To hang these people who operated the Little Rascals Daycare Center no matter how. As it turned out, the Edenton 7 were eventually released, but it wrecked their lives forever, and I still feel bad about that. Unlike Sitton, the state of North Carolina seems remorseless 18 months ago, I petitioned Attorney General Roy Cooper. This is the writer of the column, Lou Powell. It says, 18 months ago, I petitioned Attorney General Roy Cooper to issue a statement of innocence for the Edenton Seven. The Little Rascals case not only shattered the lives of the defendants, my letter argued, but also left a deep and ugly stain on the reputation of the state of North Carolina. In 2001, Massachusetts Governor Jane Swift signed a resolution proclaiming the innocence of the victims of the Salem witch trials. In time, such victims of the ritual abuse daycare panic as the Edenton Seven will surely receive similar exoneration. In time, such victims of the ritual abuse daycare panic. Okay, so in other words, he's saying that people who were caught up in these kinds of charges from daycare centers. Why not now? Why not in North Carolina? This is an opportunity to demonstrate moral leadership on a national scale. Roy Cooper has yet to respond. Now, if you're Roy Cooper and you're the Attorney General and you're looking at this situation, you know, he's running for governor. There'd be a lot of people who'd look at this and go, well, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad that he did that. But there could be a lot of people who look at Roy Cooper and go, particularly people who still believe that this happened in Edenton, and say, how dare you? You're stomping on our families and that kind of thing. I'm just wondering, 20 years later, what people think about the Little Rascal situation. Who's got an opinion? 561-8255. 561-8255. Was the Little Rascals Daycare Center situation was it mass hysteria on the partisan parents who, and one of the theories that was furthered in the PBS specials was that Robert Kelly had started spanking children in the daycare center, which of course is a no-no. But from there, people started connecting the dots to other things that led them to believe that their children had been sexually abused. 561-8255 if you've got an opinion. We'll take some calls on that later. Maybe nobody wants to talk about it these days. It's hard to talk about.
Why would Roy Cooper not consider a state-issued letter of exoneration?
Maybe he doesn't believe that they're innocent.
I mean, very quick to do that in the Duke Lacrosse case.
Political expediency. See, nobody's talking about this. I think that's why Lou Powell wrote this column yesterday. We'll come back to this. Let's go to the news desk. We've got Carly standing by now with our local news update from WITN, and then we'll get some calls on this if you want to get in. 561-8255. Let's go to Carly Swain. Good morning, Carly.
Good morning, Henry. 8:21 now on this Monday morning. Breaking news from overnight where Greenville police said they got a call of a man shot in the middle of the street late last night. This is around 11 o'clock last night at the 1400 block of Broad Street, where police say they found a man with a gunshot wound to his abdomen lying in the street. He was taken to Vidant Medical Center. His condition unknown this morning. Police say the shooting does not appear to be random. They believe the victim knew the suspects in some way. No other information has been released yet. And another investigation in Greenville as officers say a delivery driver not able to get ordered pizzas to their destination after two men robbed him in Greenville. Police say around 8 o'clock last night they were called to Lindsay Drive where they found a Domino's delivery driver who said two men had approached him demanding money. The robbers got away with the pizzas, according to officers. No one was hurt during that robbery and no word if a weapon was used. A local woman was describing the frightening moments as she, her brother, his girlfriend all held at gunpoint in a car while a 7-month-old baby sat nearby. The armed robbery happened at the College Park Apartments on East 3rd Street in Ayden Saturday night. Police say 3 men approached a car that had just pulled into the complex and robbed the people inside of several hundred dollars, which those people say was money for rent. Even scarier was that a 7-month-old sat in the back seat of that car. Ayden police say the men left the scene in a gray Lincoln Continental. If you have any information that might help police in this investigation, you're asked to give them a call. Finally, this morning, down to New Bern, where police are investigating the shooting of a man near a bar. Lieutenant Rhonda Allen says that shooting happened at Nikki's Bar and Lounge on Bern Street around 2 Saturday morning. Officials tell us that 39-year-old Telly Miles was the victim, and Miles was treated and released from the hospital. No other information has been released at this point. Time now 8:23. That's a quick look at your WITN News update. Henry, back to you.
All right, let's check some weather. Our weather update now. Philip Horn has that, and there may be some snow coming. Here's Philip with our forecast.
Nice day today. Sunny, high of 62 degrees. Tonight, mainly clear, low of 33. And tomorrow's when the interesting stuff comes in. A mix of clouds and sun in the morning, then windy with a few showers developing during the afternoon. High of 52 during the day, but a chance of rain at 60%. And Tuesday night, tomorrow night, periods of rain and snow in the evening. Few passing clouds and windy late. The low of 19 degrees. Chance of snow, 60%. Wednesday, mainly sunny. Highs in the low 30s, lows in the low 20s. And looking forward to Thursday, warming up a little bit, highs in the mid-40s, lows in the upper teens.
All right, 24 after 8 o'clock. Again, the Little Rascals Daycare Center situation in Edenton. There were over 20 adults and over 420 instances of sexual abuse alleged over a 3-year period. There were 7 people convicted. Some of them went to prison. Lou Powell of the News Observer now says it's time for the Attorney General to come out and give them a statement of innocence, saying that this was all about hysteria. What do you think? 561-8255, 561-TALK. Let's go to Phil. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Henry. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. My main reason for calling was not the Little Rascals, even though I felt the whole time that it was, they were innocent. But if they're guilty, they need to be hung. But innocent, they need to be exonerated. What I really called about was your terminology about that great Raleigh newspaper. I took it for years and loved the sports section. Took it mainly for the sports section. But I did away with my subscription. I call it The Views and Disturber. And I think that covers them pretty well.
But you know what? I will have to say that they've done some pretty work in recent years. But you want to know the real truth of the matter, and Philip knows that this is true. They got so much credit for the Easley investigation, but honestly, they were reprinting what had already been written by our friend Don Carrington at the Carolina Journal and CarolinaJournal.com. Were they not?
They were.
I mean, Carolina Journal, the truth of the matter is Don Carrington did the heavy lifting on the Easley investigation. He printed it months before the News Observer
Well, you
did.
talk about investigative reporter. Don Carrington is a bulldog investigative reporter.
Yeah, he is. But because, the Carolina Journal is a conservative website, they were not quite, they laid off of it a little bit, then they finally came onto it. But now let's get to this Little Rascals column yesterday. They see themselves, I mean, you even hear the editor here say, the former editor say, you know what, I feel responsible for those people going to prison because I sent the wrong reporter down there. Which, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? I mean, it kind of gives you a little sense of how important the media is. But on top of that, it also gives you a sense of the News and Observer's position when it comes to, hey, not just reporting the news, but we're going to make news happen. I mean, and take it one step further, this column is trying to make news happen. Is that the role of a newspaper? I don't know. Did we lose Phil? All right, 561-8255. 561-8255. Should the Edenton Daycare Center folks, the Little Rascals people, should they be declared innocent by the state of North Carolina? What do you think? 561-8255. We'll get more calls when we come back. The News Observer says they are innocent, and there should be a statement from the state of North Carolina that they are innocent. How do you feel about that? 561-8255. We'll be right back.
It's a new year here at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep, and as you can see, our lot is overloaded. We must sell 100 new cars in January. Choose from our biggest selection of the year, over 400 new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles, and over 100 certified pre-owned vehicles. Don't miss our New Year liquidation event here at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep, across from the Cracker Barrel in Greenville.
Think you're in good hands with your insurance company? The same people who held your hand when you bought your policy might try to wash their hands of you the moment you file a claim.
We'll help you take matters into your own hands by making sure you know your rights, and will fight to get you the compensation you may deserve.
At Hardy & Hardy, we're serious about seeking justice on behalf of our clients.
Count on Hardy & Hardy, protecting the rights of the seriously injured.
Stallings Mobile and Mini Storage Company will deliver a storage unit to your home or business today. Stallings Storage is the only local company providing mobile storage units 8x15 or 8x10 delivered to your site. If you are remodeling your home or office or need to store merchandise and inventory at your business, you need to call Stallings Mobile and Mini Storage. We deliver, pick up, and store it for you. It's that easy, and there's no need to send your business out of town when your mobile storage needs can be met right here with people you know. Stallings Mobile and Mini Storage is located in Pitt County on Beast Oaks Road. It's a well-secured facility with a living manager. Fixed units range from 5 feet by 10 feet to 40 feet by 40 feet. We store boats, cars, anything you need. We are pirate supporting pirates. Call Stallings Mobile and Mini Storage today at 321-2300. That's 321-2300.
Having a vision of what really matters is how we succeed. Keeping an eye on the ball, seeing all the things that we need. Focusing on the big picture, always striving to do what's right. Carry on the vision, care, we keep what's important in sight.
When you're on the go, it's Trade Wilco. No matter where you go in Eastern Carolina, there's sure to be an attractive and always clean Trade Wilco Hess station nearby. For the absolute lowest prices on gas, groceries, and travel necessities, stop at any of the Trade Wilco Hess stations throughout Eastern Carolina. Keep your eyes on the road, but remember to look for the green and white Hess sign. The best part? No one supports the ECU Pirates more. So when you're on the go, it's Trade Wilco.
All right, 8:31. We were talking about the Little Rascals Daycare Center and the fact that the News Observer wants the Attorney General to issue a statement of innocence for the people in Eden. I thought that would spark a lot of phone calls, but people, I think, are pretty. We actually have had some phone calls into the control room where people wouldn't go on the air. So I think that people are afraid to talk about this publicly.
Or is the Attorney General, gubernatorial candidate, a little concerned about the fact that doing so might instigate a lawsuit for restitution or
that's a good point.
False imprisonment or something like that?
Yeah, if the state of North Carolina comes back and says we now acknowledge that you were wrongly imprisoned.
Please sign this waiver before we make this announcement.
But I mean, we're quick to hand. I mean, there have been several cases where DNA has declared someone innocent. You know, there was the Bertie County case with the guy Alan Gell, who was accused of murder, and then he got out of prison, and I think the state had to pay him a bunch of money. And there's also what's the eugenics. All of the eugenics victims are being paid money from the state. But here's the thing: right is right and wrong is wrong. If there is enough evidence now to clear Robert and Betsy Kelly, and Dawn Wilson and all those people up in Chowan County, then the state should come forth and do it. But maybe there's not enough evidence to actually say they're absolutely innocent. Here's the thing that I've always said about it, and again, I actually have a lot of personal friends involved in this, and so I've always been careful about how I word my feelings about the whole sex scandal in Edenton. But all of these years, and you're talking about Robert Kelly at the time was in his mid to late 40s, and we're talking about young girls that were working in the daycare center that were allegedly part of this sex ring with kids in their 20s. All of these years, and not one person has cracked and come forward and said, okay, I admit it. And taken the money from Barbara Walters or Charlie Rose. I mean, all of these years, they've maintained their innocence. Not one person has changed their story in 20 years. You just have to wonder, And then the other thing that I've always been bothered by is that there was a young man here in Greenville who was on that jury. Can't remember his name. He was actually a former ECU football player. That jury was moved out of Edenton into Pitt County. That trial took place at the Farmville Courthouse.
That's right.
And there were people on the jury, including this young man from Greenville, who recanted his feelings that they were guilty. And was willing to even be interviewed by PBS for the special because he felt like he had incorrectly voted guilty. And I've never been on a jury. But I don't understand the pressure to vote guilty. I guess the peer pressure when you got 12 people in the room and everybody but 10 think they're guilty and 2 think they're innocent. The pressure the peer pressure. It takes a special person to stand up to that and say no, I'm sticking by my guns. I think they're innocent, and he didn't do that. And then after the trial, he came out publicly and said, I think they're innocent. And so it's just led to a lot of, I think, question marks that have never been fully answered. But nobody wants to talk about this, so let's move on to something else.
Well, there's one thing.
561-8255 if you do want to comment.
There's one thing I would say about it. What's also interesting is this is pre-video era. And, now a lot of daycare, if you're a parent.
You mean surveillance video?
Exactly.
Right,
if you're a parent, you can actually dial in at any time during the day on the web and find out what's going on.
And I think that's good.
Daycare. Yeah,
I think that's good. I'm not a big fan of Big Brother watching you, but when it comes to your children, I mean, we now know that a lot of daycare workers, I shouldn't say a lot. Some daycare workers, let's just say, don't have your child's best interest at heart.
But child care and elder care, that's where technology has, made it very easy to watch the quality of care.
Right. Let's move on to some other things. There is a report out this morning by the Center for American Progress Action Fund that ranks North Carolina's best and worst counties for voting access. Hertford County was at the top of the list for worst access to voting. How about that? The Ahoskie area. 79 counties in the state analyzed based on rates of overall voter turnout, voter registration, voter list maintenance, provisional ballots accepted and rejected, and absentee ballots rejected. And Hertford County, one of the worst, according to this report. Mecklenburg, Cherokee, and Union counties were the 3 best performing counties, according to the same report. I got some stuff, some other stuff also that I want to talk about regarding Tom Tillis and Kay Hagan's race. But I think we're going to the phones, are we not? Let's go to the phones. 561-8255. Vince is on the phone. Good morning, Vince. How are you?
Good morning, Henry. How are y'all this morning?
Good. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I was listening to y'all talk about the Little Rascal Daycare, and I had really honestly forgotten all about that. After spending 20 years in the military and not even being in North Carolina, and then coming back to North Carolina. I hadn't even thought about it in a long time. But if new evidence has been found to prove them innocent, I would definitely say we should step forward and say they're innocent. But if we have no new evidence, then it's really hard to go back and say, well, that they are innocent. If we don't know.
The only new evidence that's come to light since the trial is the belief in the psychology community, as I understand it. Philip, would you agree with this?
Yes.
The belief in the world of psychiatric science and psychology that the interview techniques that were used by the social workers that interviewed the children were suggestive in nature.
Right.
And I know from I've got a 4-year-old grandson. If I sit down and have a conversation with him, sometimes he has a fantastic imagination.
Yeah.
And if you suggest things to him, he might concoct some stories of his own. And that's the belief on the part of the people who now say that they're innocent. There was the famous McMartin trial in California where the people were declared innocent because of they went back and had video or something of the way that the children were being interviewed, and they were exonerated. But that's never happened in the Edenton case. There's only been a belief, and I believe I'm right about this. Betsy and Robert Kelly were released from prison, but they were never exonerated. I think their sentences were just commuted.
Right.
So they've never been declared innocent. They just, I think at some point they let them out of jail because there was so much question about, how those children had been interviewed.
Don't you think that more weight should be put on the lie detector test?
How do you give a 4-year-old child a lie detector, though?
No. I mean, for the people who were convicted. I mean, if you give them a lie detector test,
well, you can't.
Really hard
I can't remember. It seems to me that one or two of them did take a lie detector test, didn't they? You can't make somebody take a lie detector test, but I think I'm right about this. I believe that Robert Kelly agreed to have it, or somebody did, and I don't know about that.
Yeah, when I was in the military, we had some crypto come up missing one time. I had to take a lie detector test. And when they asked me
what came up missing?
Crypto.
Crypto?
Yeah.
Is that the stuff that makes Superman weak?
No, that's Krypton.
That's Krypton. Oh, what's crypto?
Crypto is what makes your voice, and it puts a certain code on there that makes things non-readable by the enemy.
Oh, really? I never heard of that.
But I had to take a lie detector test, and they asked me, have I ever stolen anything from the military? And I wanted to say yes, but I said no, knowing that I had taken an ink pen home. And after they reviewed the test, they knew that I had lied about that.
So it does work, huh?
And he's like, well, what'd you steal? And I was like, I said, I took an ink pen home the other day. I said, it's sitting at home on my dresser. Technically, I stole that. He's like, get out of my office. But, I think the lie detector test works.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's
all
hard
right,
to
man.
hide your internal nerves
Good to hear from you, man. Thank you.
Hey, y'all have a great day.
All right.
Appreciate what y'all do.
561-8255. Coach, I cannot hear you. Dick.
Yes, good morning, Henry. How are you?
How are you, Dick? Good to hear from you.
Just a comment on the Little Rascals case. Just one comment. I think if you want to get to the bottom of the issue, you need to get an investigative journalist to examine the mother of the child who brought all the charges and the prosecutor. And I think that will enlighten or shed a lot of light on this case.
You sound like you might be from Edenton, Dick.
No, I'm not from Edenton.
Well, the PBS special kind of did some of that, didn't they?
I don't remember. I know all of them are out of jail.
Yeah.
And it was, in my opinion, and of course, opinions are like noses, all of us have one. I think it was a gross deed of injustice.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel that way. All right, Dick, thank you for your call.
All right.
561-8255. Now we're getting calls. Jeff is on the phone. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Good to hear from you.
you were talking about the pressure from a jury.
Yeah.
I have sat on a jury, and I was involved in something and sat on a case and was one of the two people in the jury that stuck to our guns and wouldn't veer from it. And it's a tremendous amount of pressure. People get angry, and then
what's the pressure that Jeff? They want to get out of there, right?
Pressure.
They want to end it. If you don't agree with the other 10 folks, they're going to make you stay there and try to get a verdict, and you're going to be there for a couple more days, and everybody wants to get the hell out of there, right?
Yeah, and not only that, some people get an emotional attachment to the case,
right?
Which you can't do. You can't get an emotional attachment. You have to use facts, and you got to keep emotions out of it. You've got to go on facts. And I mean, it went as far as to I wouldn't budge that me and the other lady that was involved actually received death threats. No
kidding.
Yeah.
Was this a capital case? Obviously, you don't want to say what case, but was it a capital case?
Yes.
So it was a big time crime.
It was a big time. Yeah, we were. I wasn't even in the state of North Carolina at the time.
I got you.
But
so was it like a murder trial, a rape, or something like that?
It was a murder.
Right. Well, what's it like to sit on a murder trial? That's got to be, just like if you were on this jury with these people, that have been accused of sexually assaulting children. What a responsibility.
It's a tremendous responsibility, and I'm the type of person that I form an opinion real quick. And
well, now let me ask you this: is that a bad thing though when you're on a jury?
Well, it can and it can't be. It was a great learning experience for me, and I had an opinion formed, and after sitting and listening to everything, I actually had to change it because I couldn't consciously go with what I had after listening to all the facts.
How about that?
And I mean, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it came out later, a few years later, that those of us that stood to our guns were actually right. That stuck to it we were actually right.
And you see, this. I wish I could think of the gentleman's name. He actually did an interview on my show years ago. Nice young man, felt so much remorse that he had voted guilty in that case, and then came back later. He was actually interviewed on the PBS show. Came back and said, "I made a mistake. I was, they were able to get me to break under the pressure, and I voted with the mob. And I think these people are innocent, but I didn't vote that way. I voted to convict them, and he was real sorry about that after the fact. But
the interrogation techniques that are used, Henry, they could take you in there, and for a murder or something like that, and they could ask you leading questions and everything else, and before you know it, they could have charges against you, and you could have been in another state. That's how they operate on a lot of things.
Well, you hear about that stuff all the time.
I've been around it, and I've seen it.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, that's really good insight from somebody who's been on a jury. We appreciate the call.
All right.
561-8255. Let's get a break in. Again, if you don't know what we're talking about, the reason we're talking about the Edenton Daycare Center trial from 25 years ago, it was 25 years ago yesterday, actually, that the first complaint was filed with the Department of Social Services in Edenton. And the News and Observer ran a column by Lou Powell yesterday saying that the state of North Carolina Attorney General Roy Cooper should issue a statement of innocence for the 7 people convicted in the Little Rascals Daycare trial. What do you think about that? 561-8255. We will be right back.
Imagine getting a new car and paying less than what you're paying right now. You can at Greenville Toyota's Trade Up, Pay Less sales event. Start the new year off right in a new Toyota with payments as low as $148 a month on the all-new 2014 Corolla. And new Camrys just $20 more, now $168 a month. And 0% financing on 10 new Toyota models. Plus, we'll help you get the financing you need. And remember, every new Toyota comes with a Greenville Toyota Advantage. Trade up and pay less. Stop making those high car payments on that old car. Rush to Greenville Toyota today.
At the law firm of Hardy & Hardy, we don't simply take cases.
We take your case personally.
I've been in several car accidents, and each time I've turned to Hardy and Hardy for help. They are honest, hardworking, and dependable. I've been satisfied with the conclusion of each case, and I would recommend Wayne and Charles Hardy to my family and friends.
You matter to us.
Protecting the rights of the seriously injured.
Unlock the best life has to offer for generations to come. Introducing the Legacy membership exclusively at Ironwood Golf and Country Club. As a Legacy member, you'll not only enjoy all the benefits of an active, family-friendly lifestyle, your children and grandchildren will enjoy membership status as well. Belonging to Ironwood is remarkable. Sharing it with your entire family is even better. Become a Legacy member today, only at Ironwood Golf and Country Club. Golf at its finest, life at its fullest.
Top Dog Academy is Eastern North Carolina's complete dog training facility. Top Dog provides an excellent environment for dogs of all ages with training services and work week daycare. Top Dog is located on Highway 43 South, just 4 miles from Bells Fork, and features a comfortable, healthy environment and a spacious facility for daycare and a brand new, beautiful facility for training. Call 752-8215 or visit topdogonline.com.
Come on out Highway 43 South to Top Dog Academy, where we know dogs.
Pepsi, born here, raised by Panthers fans everywhere.
Raise your Pepsi for a chance to win the ultimate fan experience. See specially marked 18 packs or visit PepsiRaisedHere.com to learn more.
Many people in eastern North Carolina suffer from diabetes. The question is, can the disease be managed before it causes harm? Are there lifestyle changes that can help prevent it in the first place? And can a health system really make a difference? At Vidant Health, we are empowering people with tools and resources to detect and manage chronic disease. Can diabetes education and management help members of your family lead healthier lives? The answer is definitely yes.
Talk of the Town brought to you by Homer Tire this morning and the Homer Tire real estate team. If you're in the market to sell your home and you live in the Greenville area, you need to call Homer Tire and let him do it for you. 758-HOME, 758-4663. Homer will buy the home from you, and that's a guarantee. If he doesn't sell it by the deadline and for the price you need, he'll actually buy the home from you himself. That's the Homer Tire guarantee, and you never have to be hung into a long-term contract. You can fire Homer at any time and pay him nothing. Call Homer Tire, 758-HOME, 758-4663, or visit him online, guaranteedsellnc.com. Homer Tire, great year last year, and using all the technology at hand. If you here's the only thing I can say is if you want to sell it, call Homer, 758-HOME. We're talking about Little Rascals Daycare Center and the article in yesterday's News Observer, the column, asking the Attorney General of North Carolina to exonerate the people up in Eden. And let's go to Don, who's on the line. Good morning, Don. How are you?
Good morning, Henry. This is Don from Blunt Street. First, I want to thank you for running your Home Fest 14. We just sent in our contract. If you remember me.
Yes. How are you, Don? Good to hear from you.
Pretty good. Very good, actually, driving to Farnborough. I sat on a murder trial out of state that was incredibly stressful, and I guess I was on the other side of the one or two people holding out, and we wound up inside. I guess it's sequestered for 3 days.
Wow.
Because one woman couldn't believe that someone could be stabbed to death for a $12 bottle of wine, which is horrible. And we were instructed by the judge that we could convict someone on circumstantial evidence because this kid, who was not a good person, basically ran the cops around the county like the Keystone Cops, making them look foolish, and then basically said that they beat him to a pulp to get a confession. So he played every possible card.
So you're in the jury room and you think he's guilty, but you've got a couple of people that just won't believe it, or one person. And
it was two, and they just couldn't believe someone could get stabbed for $12.
Yeah, and
it was crazy.
Yeah, circumstantial evidence. So there was no DNA. There was no.
This was before DNA.
Gotcha. So the dynamics in the jury, as this relates to the Little Rascals Daycare Center, I guess what we're hearing is, that the group dynamic inside that jury room plays a huge role, one way or the other.
It becomes very aggressive and very emotional.
Yeah.
And finally, we actually got them to move over, which I think was a good thing, even in retrospect, with logic. And we basically said, throw everybody's testimony out. Who are the ones that you think you can believe?
Well, that's the way the system's designed to work, right? So I guess in your case, it worked well. In the case of the Little Rascals Daycare Center, many think that group dynamic became a mob mentality. So
I could see how it could easily, man. It's a scary thing when you're living through it, I'll tell you that.
That's great insight, Don. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
We'll talk to you again.
All right, 7:54. Almost out of time. We got to get some sports headlines in here. Philip Horn is in this morning. Trent McGee back tomorrow, but right now here is Philip on sports.
Yesterday was NFL Championship Sunday, the two conference championships, and on the AFC side, Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos are heading to the Super Bowl after a 26-16 victory over Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Manning threw for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns Sunday to lead Denver to its first trip to the NFL title game in 15 years. And after the game, former Carolina Panthers head coach John Fox, head coach of the Denver Broncos, had this to say.
Hey, Bill's a great coach, a Hall of Fame coach. It's a great organization. This was a great game with two great organizations. We happened to end up on top, and they had a great season.
It seems to me like he thinks it was all great.
Yeah, sounds like a great time.
Great coach, great season, great crowd, great season.
On the NFC side yesterday, or last night, I should say, it was the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers, and Russell Wilson threw a 35-yard touchdown pass on 4th down. Seattle's top-ranked defense forced 2 late turnovers, lifting the Seahawks into their second Super Bowl with a 23-17 victory over the San Francisco 49ers for the NFC Championship yesterday. Both teams, the Broncos and the Seahawks, will meet in the Meadowlands on February 2nd.
All right, that's our sports update. Philip Horn in this morning. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you very much for all your sports goodness. We got more calls holding, but we're out of time, unfortunately. The calls came late on this, but they started coming. McGee will be back tomorrow. Merry Martin Luther King Day, everybody. What are you doing today?
Going out and getting bread and milk.
Everybody rush to the grocery store because there is a chance of snow tomorrow. But Jim Howard says it's only going to be a dusting. But you don't know because the roads could be slick.
Yeah, beware the black ice.
Very cold day on Wednesday. That's it, everybody. Have a great Monday.
Imagine getting a new car and paying less than what you're paying right now. You can at Greenville Toyota's Trade Up, Pay Less sales event. Start the new year off right in a new Toyota with payments as low as $148 a month on the all-new 2014 Corolla. And new Camrys just $20 more, now $168 a month. And 0% financing on 10 new Toyota models. Plus, we'll help you get the financing you need. And remember, every new Toyota comes with a Greenville Toyota Advantage. Trade up and pay less. Stop making those high car payments on that old car. Rush to Greenville Toyota today.
Top Dog Academy is Eastern North Carolina's complete dog training facility. Top Dog provides an excellent environment for dogs of all ages with training services and work week daycare. Top Dog is located on Highway 43 South, just 4 miles from Bells Fork, and features a comfortable, healthy environment and a spacious facility for daycare and a brand new, beautiful facility for training. Call 752-8215 or visit topdogonline.com.
Come on out Highway 43 South to Top Dog Academy, where we know dogs.
When you're on the go, it's Trade Wilco. No matter where you go in Eastern Carolina, there's sure to be an attractive and always clean Trade Wilco Hess station nearby. For the absolute lowest prices on gas, groceries, and travel necessities, stop at any of the Trade Wilco Hess stations throughout Eastern Carolina. Keep your eyes on the road, but remember to look for the green and white Hess sign. The best part? No one supports the ECU Pirates more. So when you're on the go, it's Trade Wilco.
Unlock the best life has to offer for generations to come. Introducing the Legacy membership exclusively at Ironwood Golf and Country Club. As a Legacy member, you'll not only enjoy all the benefits of an active, family-friendly lifestyle, your children and grandchildren will enjoy membership status as well. Belonging to Ironwood is remarkable. Sharing it with your entire family is even better. Become a Legacy member today, only at Ironwood Golf and Country Club. Golf at its finest, life at its fullest.
Having a vision of what really matters is how we succeed. Keeping an eye on the ball, seeing all the things that we need. Focusing on the big picture, always striving to do what's right. Carolina Vision Care, we keep what's important inside.
It's a new year here at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep, and as you can see, our lot is overloaded. We must sell 100 new cars in January. Choose from our biggest selection of the year, over 400 new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles, and over 100 certified pre-owned vehicles. Don't miss our New Year liquidation event here at East Carolina Chrysler Dodge Jeep, across from the Cracker Barrel in Greenville.